And I chose something from the chapter 9 of the Duke's Children, and which is titled In Medias Res. And if you want a good example of that, I don't want to do a spoiler, but look at the title of the first chapter, because the Duke's Children begins with quite a bang of In Medias Res. And one of the things a lot of people like about Trollope are his direct address to the reader, where he kind of opens the curtain up and shows you how the mechanisms of writing a novel works and things like that. And just that is always such an amusing part of it. So anyway, this is chapter 9 in Medias Res. Perhaps the method of rushing at once in medias res is of all ways of beginning a story or a separate branch of the story, the least objectionable. The reader is made to think that the gold lies so near the surface that he will be required to take very little trouble in digging for it. And the writer is enabled, at least for a time, or till his neck has become, as it were, warm to the collar, to throw off from him the difficulties and dangers, the tedium and prolixity of description. This rushing in medias res has doubtless the charm of ease. Quote, certainly, when I threw her from the garret window to the stony pavement below, I did not anticipate that she would fall so far without injury to life or limb, unquote. When the story has been begun after this fashion, without any prelude, without description of the garret, or of the pavement, or of the lady thrown, or of the speaker, a great amount of trouble seems to have been solved. The mind of the reader fills up the blanks, if erroneously, still satisfactorily. He knows at least that the heroine has encountered a terrible danger and has escaped from it with almost incredible good fortune, that the demon of the piece is a bold demon, not ashamed to speak of his own iniquity, and that the heroine and the demon are so far united that they have been in a garret together. But there is a drawback on the system, that it is almost impossible to avoid the necessity of doing sooner or later that which would naturally be done at first. It answers perhaps for half a dozen chapters, and to carry the reader pleasantly along for half a dozen chapters is a great matter. But after that, a certain nebulous darkness seems to gradually envelop the characters and the incidents. Is all of this going on in the country or in town, or perhaps in the colonies? How old was she? Was she tall? Is she fair? Is she heroine-like in her form and gait? And after all, how high was the garret window? I have always found that the details would insist on being told at last, and by rushing in medias res, I was simply presenting the cart before the horse. As readers like the cart the best, I will do it once again, trying only for a branch of my story, and will endeavor to let as little as possible of the horse be seen afterward.